Hey YouTube, how's it going? My name is Dustin Smith and I'm with A2K, Allegiance to the King. And today I want to give you an encouraging message on how you could be more allegiant to the King Jesus by looking at a teaching that he did in John chapter 4. And in John chapter 4, Jesus is going to show us that our desire to be obedient, to be faithful, and to be loyal to God is something that can actually be filling to us, okay? It could actually give us meaning and fulfillment in our very lives. In John chapter 4, we're going to start in verse 31. It says, "Meanwhile, the disciples were urging him," they were urging Jesus, saying, "Rabbi, eat." But he said to them, "I have food to eat that you do not know about." Of course, the disciples are going to interpret this literally because that's the theme of misunderstanding in the Gospel of John, is that Jesus has dialogues and his dialogue partners interpret what Jesus says literally, but Jesus means it figuratively. So we can see how this conversation carries out. Verse 33, "So the disciples were saying to one another, 'No one brought him anything to eat, did he?'" See, they thought that Jesus was talking about actual food, actual bread. Look at what Jesus says in verse 34. This is very, very powerful. John chapter 4 and verse 34, Jesus said to them, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work." Okay? Jesus is saying here that his food, his fulfillment, his nourishment is to do the will of God. God is the one that sent Jesus, and to accomplish his work that God had for Jesus' life. Okay, that's really, really important. And we can see there's something that is just very, very powerful for anyone who has volunteered their time, or they have given sacrificially to another person, or they have served somebody else. They know that that could be very filling for their life. And this is what Jesus is teaching us right here, is that our desire to get in tune with what God has for our lives, specifically the commands that God has for us, God's precepts, God's instructions, and of course in the Gospel of John, the major theme is that God's words are now spoken through God's Son, Jesus Christ. And so by obeying and being allegiant to the King Jesus, we can actually find food, nourishment, and fulfillment for our lives, okay? And so as we dedicate ourselves each and every day through prayer, through humility, through following the Spirit, through conforming ourselves in the likeness of Jesus Christ, let us find nourishment in obeying Jesus. Let us find nourishment in obeying the will of God. Let us find nourishment in taking what God has told us that we're supposed to do in our lives to be his faithful people and enjoy that and to eat with that and to be fulfilled in those very things. And I think this is a very mature way to understand how we're supposed to be faithful. We're not looking at the things that God tells us to do or the things that Christ tells us to do and to say, "Oh my goodness, it's another command. Christianity seems to be a bunch of commands of things I'm supposed to do and things I'm not supposed to do. Oh, this is so burdensome." That's the wrong attitude. That's not the attitude that Jesus had. Clearly, here Jesus is saying that, no, his food, his nourishment, and his fulfillment is to do the will of him who sent him and to accomplish his work. What a great attitude to have. I mean, that's just a really, really mature and godly attitude. And so I encourage you today, as we're being allegiant to the King Jesus, that let us also set our mind to find fulfillment in obeying the will of God and following the teachings of our Lord and King, Jesus Christ. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video for more updates from Allegiance to the King. My name is Dustin Smith with A2K. Until next time, take care.